Over 40 and struggling with getting that toned, lean look? No, it's not your genetics or menopause, and you are certainly not broken. I see you putting in the effort. You're getting your workouts in, for the most part anyway. You're making a conscious effort to eat protein, and you're eating a mostly clean diet. But your body never seems to change. Or even worse, you are noticing an increase in fat around your belly. If this is you, you are definitely not alone. I know how frustrating this can be, and I want you to know that this is absolutely fixable. You are likely just making some common mistakes when it comes to nutrition and training, and the good news is that it doesn't have to be complicated or depriving at all. And no, you don't have to spend hours in the gym. No, you don't need to eat clean all the time or hop on another crash diet. And no, you don't have to do cardio to lose weight and tone up either. This is exactly what I'm teaching inside my free upcoming 2-part training, A Leaner, Fitter You. Want my secrets for building sexy ass muscle and getting lean as fuck in your 40s and 50s? Sign up for A Leaner, Fitter You in the show notes. Well, hey there. Welcome to the Lean Lifestyle Podcast, where we talk all the things about losing fat and building muscle in your 40s and beyond. I'm Courtney Witten, your host, and today we are here for part 2 on how you are unintentionally sabotaging your fitness goals. So in case you all are watching on Spotify or YouTube, I do have my dogs with me here today. So if you see a black dog walking around in the background, I apologize if that's distracting, but today I'm here and my husband's actually having a garage sale right now. So I have both of my dogs inside and they've been barking all day long because of the people in the garage. And I knew if I did not bring them back here with me, that they would just continue to bark. But I have my dog bed back here and I'm just hanging out with my animals. So it's a beautiful day in Northwest Arkansas, and I hope you're having a great day too. And in case you missed it, we had part 1 last week of how you are unintentionally sabotaging your fitness goals. We talked about 4 common mistakes that women make when it comes to losing fat and building muscle in your 40s and your 50s. So if you are someone who is over the age of 40 and you are doing all the things, maybe you're working out 4, 5, maybe even 6 days a week, and you're doing things like trying to get enough protein and you're eating clean, but yet your body never seems to change. So frustrating. And I've totally been there before. And that's exactly why we are here having this conversation, because I do not want you to spin your wheels anymore. It is not fun to put in the work and not get the results that you want. So if you want a lean toned look, if you want a narrow waist and a big old booty, you want to have muscle tone, then stick around, because today we are going to be talking about the nutrition side of things. And we're going to be talking about 2 common mistakes that women make when it comes to losing fat and building muscle. Because here's the thing, there is so much noise out there, and I hope by sharing this information with you that you can empower yourself to try something new. Because here's the thing, the idea that you have to do things like do cardio every day, or doing things like crash diets, these things are actually not helping you get to your goal. It's actually causing you to not get to your goal. So I'm hoping by sharing this information with you that you are empowered to try something new, so that way you can get the results that you want. And I promise you, you do not have to spend hours in the gym. You also do not need to do things like give up your favorite foods or eat clean all the time. Okay. So, on that note, I do want to invite you to my upcoming free 2-part training. It's called A Leaner, Fitter You. So inside A Leaner, Fitter You, I will be going over the most effective ways to train in your 40s and your 50s to get lean and shredded. I'm also going to be sharing with you the most effective strategies for women over 40 who want to look toned and lean that don't include low-calorie diets or cookie-cutter meal plans. And finally, I'm going to be sharing inside this free 2-part series how long to diet, what to do after the diet so you maintain your fat loss and your muscle gains. So, if this sounds good to you, make sure that you sign up for this free event called Leaner Fitter You. If you click on the link in the show notes, you get to sign up. And whenever you sign up, you're going to get reminders. You're going to get access to our private Facebook group where the trainings are going to be held. You're also going to get access to the replays right to your inbox. My Fat Loss Secrets for Women guide, completely free. And you're also going to get an opportunity to try my membership for women over 40 lean physique for free for 2 weeks. So if this sounds good, make sure that you sign up for the event. Go into the show notes and sign up today. We start on April 15th. So the trainings are going to be inside my private Facebook group on April 15th and April 17th, which is a Tuesday and a Thursday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Completely free. This is going to blow your mind. It's going to change everything for you. So if you're spinning your wheels, you feel like you're doing all the things, you're checking off all the boxes, but yet you feel like you're gaining weight over time and you're losing muscle mass over time, there's more than likely some mistakes that you're making with your training and or your nutrition. So I really would love for you to be there. Tuesday on April 15th, the first training, we're going to be talking about training. So we'll go over the 4 mistakes that we talked about in last week's episode. We will go through that again. But also, I'm also going to be sharing with you 4 must-have glute building exercises that you can do at home or you can do in a gym that are actually really simple but yet effective. So you'll definitely want to be around for that. And I'm also going to be going over things like form fixes and options for home and also the gym. So definitely want to be there. These are going to change your workouts forever, because the biggest mistake that I see when it comes to training, not to like get back into the training, but I see that a lot of women, they do so much volume. They're doing like, anywhere from like 8, 10, 12 exercises in a training session. And actually that is like way too much. And in fact, you're probably actually just wasting your time. I like to train my ladies inside Lean Physique to literally just do like 4, 5, maybe 6 exercises and really focus on making sure that you are resting enough so you can lift as heavy as possible, and really focus on your form. So it's actually not quantity, is really more around quality, making sure that you have impeccable form and also contracting the right muscles at the right time. And making sure that you are resting adequately between sets. So guess what? You do not have to do things like burpees in between sets. In fact, that's probably part of the problem, doing things like the active recovery that you see like in boot camp classes. Those things are actually making you lose strength gains and muscle mass. So make sure that you guys join our event coming up called A Leaner Fitter You. You can sign up in the show notes. We start on Tuesday, April 15th. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump in today. In the last episode of this podcast, we talked all about the 4 common mistakes that women make when it comes to training. Today, we're going to be talking more around nutrition. So you probably know that nutrition really is a lot of it. So we definitely need to make sure that we are doing things like keeping calories in check, and doing things like making sure we're getting enough protein. So you guys probably all know that, but what I want to talk about today is 2 common mistakes that women make when it comes to trying to lose fat and build muscle. Okay. So the first one we're going to talk about is eating clean. Okay. So you might be thinking, Courtney, how was that a mistake? Here's the thing. Eating clean does not equal fat loss necessarily. Okay. I know this was actually hard for me to get my head around. I remember back in it was probably around 2000. Yeah, it was around like 2018, 19. I really went into the whole clean eating movement. And to be honest, there is some really good benefits from it. Like for me, just eating more whole foods kept me full. So therefore, I was eating less processed foods that's really highly palatable. So what I mean by highly palatable is those foods taste good. So meaning that they're really easy to eat too much of. So I did go through the whole like whole foods movement back in the day, where I was really focusing on eating high quality foods, which is not a bad thing. But here is what a lot of people don't understand. Clean eating does not equal fat loss, because fat loss is going to come down more to how much you're eating, not necessarily what you're eating. So, to be clear here, again, it's not that eating clean is not going to help you lose weight, because it can. Like I just mentioned, it can greatly decrease your cravings. It can help you desire sugar less. So you're going to be craving those highly palatable foods and those high calorie foods less. So it can absolutely help you in that. And also, whenever you're eating a whole foods diet, more than likely you're probably going to do things like get enough fiber, get enough protein. So that alone is more than likely going to keep you feeling more satiated. So therefore, more than likely you're going to eat less later. But what I want to clear up today is this belief, because I see this all the time. I'm in a lot of different Facebook groups. I love just commenting on different posts in Facebook groups just to be helpful. But what I see a lot is this belief that you have to eat clean to lose weight, or I'm losing weight because I'm eating clean. And that's not necessarily true, because that does not add up. Because I will use myself as an example here. You guys probably know I've been doing maintenance / bulk for 2 years now. I just hit the 2-year mark. So I have not dieted in over 2 years. And I have been doing things like eating at maintenance or in a slight surplus over these last 2 years in order to build muscle mass. And although I do flexible dieting, but at this point in my journey, I am eating a lot of whole foods. I would say probably 85% of my diet is coming from whole foods. But even though that was the case, I still have put on 20 pounds in a little over a year. The reason why I gained weight was because I was eating in a calorie surplus. So we need to understand this. In order to lose weight, you need to eat less than your body burns. You need to create some kind of calorie deficit, whether that's through your nutrition or your movement and exercise, or a combination. I highly suggest that you focus more on nutrition. It's just easier to do that way. It's easier to control your calorie consumption through food versus exercise. But these are things that we need to do in order to lose weight. We have a lot of studies on this. So that is really going to be the key to fat loss. So I see this belief all the time. Well, Courtney, I'm eating clean. I don't understand why I'm losing weight. Well, you're probably not losing weight because you're not in a calorie deficit. So meaning you're either not moving enough, or you're over consuming calories, or a lot of times it's going to be a little bit of both, which is keeping you from your fat loss goals. So again, eating clean does not equal fat loss. And although I do hear that a lot, it's like, because I actually commented on someone's post just the other day in a Facebook group. They're talking about how, like, yeah, eating clean helped me lose weight. And I'm like, not necessarily. Sure, it helped you eat in a calorie deficit, but the reason why you lost weight was not because you're eating clean. The reason why is because you're eating clean, so more than likely you were consuming less calories. So hopefully that makes sense. I do believe that there is great benefits to eating a whole foods diet. But in the context of fat loss and adherence, I do think that if we are trying to eat too clean, then actually that can lead to more cravings and wanting to overindulge on those foods that you're trying to stay away from. That's a whole other conversation, but that is the flaw in just trying to eat clean foods. It can lead to more cravings, especially if you're trying to avoid those delicious foods that you love. But that's what I want to say about that. I see it all the time. I get messages all the time from women that are struggling with their weight loss goals, and a lot of times they come to me and they're like, I don't understand why I'm not losing, because I'm eating a whole foods diet. I'm eating plenty of protein. I'm eating vegetables and fruits. I'm watching my fats. It really comes down to making sure that you are in a calorie deficit. Okay. So eating clean is great, but it's not going to be the solution to fat loss. You definitely need to make sure that you're watching your portions. So doing things like weighing and measuring your food, and also doing things like developing the skill of macro counting can really be eye-opening. And honestly, like even if you just did it for a short amount of time, just to see where you're actually falling, because there's so much studies that have been done on how people underreport how much they eat. And this is not just the everyday person. This is also fitness professionals, nutritionists. There's been study after study done on how people underreport their food intake, right? Because it's easy to forget those little bites and nibbles. And not only that, even if you're not like a big nibbler, even if you're not like paying attention to your portions, it can really add up. So even just going over a couple hundred calories a day will lead to fat gain. It just takes a little bit of time. So although clean eating can be great, it's not going to be the fix. So what is the fix? It's going to be watching our portions, learning how to weigh and measure food, or at least learning how to eyeball. I know inside of my program, I have inside of Lead Physique, I have like a visual chart that my clients can use. So that way, if they do not want to weigh, or if they're out or at someone's house and they don't want to bust out the measuring cups and food scale, then there's like a handy little guide that I give my clients to eyeball it. So you definitely want to do some portion control, weighing, measuring food, and also macro counting. And even if that's just like literally tracking for a week or two, just become aware, like, oh, man, okay, like now it's starting to make sense. Like, even though I'm eating clean, I'm going over on my calories, and that's causing the weight gain. So that's what I highly suggest. We are going to be talking more about that in a Leaner Fitter You in more detail. So make sure that you sign up for that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the second one. This one might take us a little bit to get through because there is a couple things here. And the second mistake that I see women make when it comes to losing fat and building muscle in their 40s and beyond is low calorie diets. All right, so you guys probably know I'm not against diets, but I am against dieting all the time. There's a few things for this, okay? So one, you are more than likely not going to be able to build glutes, okay? So if you are constantly restricting your calories and you want to build a booty, that does not make any sense. Yeah, because here's the thing. Whenever you are in a fat loss phase, whenever you are dieting, you are lucky to maintain your muscle mass. You are not going to be building any muscle mass, more than likely. The problem is that whenever you're not taking in a lot of energy, aka calories, then you cannot build muscle. I hear this all the time. I hear, Courtney, like my glutes are flat. I don't know if it's my age or genetics or both, but I'm doing all the things. I'm working out all the time. But the issue here is that I'm restricting my calories, but yet I am not seeing any glute growth. Because it doesn't make sense. That's like totally conflicting what you want. That is conflicting goals right there. If you want glutes, you cannot be in a calorie deficit. Like it just does not work that way. So think about it in this context. Think about if you were pregnant, you would not restrict your calories. Why? Because you want to grow your baby, right? You want your baby to be healthy. It's the same thing with building a butt. You would not restrict your calories. That does not make sense. You cannot grow something with not adequate fuel, right? So I always think about it in that context. Like I wouldn't restrict my calories if I was pregnant because I want to grow my baby. So I wouldn't do the same thing with my glutes. It's going to require a little bit of fuel. I'm not saying overeat, but you either need to be eating at maintenance. You need to be eating roughly what your body is burning. at the minimum, if not doing a small surplus of about 10%, which I know can be a little scary. So come on over to A Leaner Fitter You, and we're going to be going over all of this stuff in more detail, and you'll be able to join me live where you can actually ask me questions. So that's the first thing that I see the problem with low calorie diets is that the problem isn't the low calorie diets. The problem is constantly doing them. So here's the thing. You should not always be dieting, even if you have a lot of weight to lose. We want to keep those fat loss phases to about 4 months tops. That's really going to be the sweet spot. For most people, I usually do anywhere from like a 2 to 4 month cut. This is going to be long enough for just depending on your goals. So obviously you might want to go longer if you have a bigger weight loss goal. But the 4 month mark is really about all you want to do because first of all, most people are not going to be adherent past that 3-4 month mark anyway. So you might as well exit out of the fat loss phase, do a little bit time of just maintaining your fat loss that you had and just trying to maintain that before going into another fat loss phase. The other issue here, again, you don't always want to be dieting because you're going to lose muscle mass. So I see this all the time with people, especially nowadays, now that we have Wegovy and Ozempic, which I'm very neutral on, by the way. I don't think it's good or bad. I actually think it could be a great tool for some people that are having weight loss struggles. So that's kind of how I feel about that. But I do see this a lot with these weight loss injections because, and you guys probably all know, I think we all know someone who's lost a lot of weight, but honestly, like they look good, but not really. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not just like skin. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that a lot of times these people lose weight rapidly. And if they are not eating, because those weight loss injections will actually suppress your appetite. Like it literally, you just won't have that desire to eat for a lot of people. That is going to be a side effect of those weight loss injections, which is good, right? Because we want to control calories. But the problem here is that a lot of people are not eating hardly anything and hardly any protein. And the issue here, they're losing weight rapidly. And if they're not weight training and they're not eating adequate calories and they're not eating enough protein, then they're going to experience not just weight loss, they're also going to experience muscle loss. And here's the thing, even if you don't really care about muscle loss or muscle at all, you don't really care about looking like jacked or, super toned, which is totally fine. But my argument here is that you're not going to be happy with your results if you do not do at least like the bare minimum when it comes to weight training, which I would say is about two days a week. I would say the 2 days a week is really going to be the minimum. This would be enough to actually at least maintain your muscle. If you want to grow muscle, I would say more around 3-4 days a week. But that's the issue that I'm seeing on these weight loss injections. And again, I'm not against them. I do think that they can be very beneficial for a lot of people that are struggling because it really can be difficult to get started when you're overweight and your joints hurt, or maybe you have like a lot of food noise, you have a lot of cravings. And if you have type 2 diabetes or insulin resistance on top of that, then you're probably battling with things like cravings. So I do think that these weight loss injections can be great to start, but the issue is that a big side effect is appetite suppression, which can be great, but if you're not eating enough and you're not eating enough protein and you're not weight training, that is a recipe for not looking good. You're going to have this skinny fat look. You're not going to look toned. You're going to look a little flabby. And that really is unfortunate. So that's why we don't want to just do crash diets for a long time. And this is why I think it's really important also to do things like once you get close or to your goal weight with these injections, I think it's really important to taper off of these injections and also learn how to do things like eating at maintenance. Start doing things like weight training, which you should be doing during the weight loss anyway. I think that's a good idea to go ahead and start the weight training. while you are losing weight and on these injections. This can really solve a lot of problems. But I see this all the time. People will lose the weight and then they're not happy with the results. And then they're also like in this space of like, it's time to stop the diet. So we need to taper off that medication or at least reduce the dose. So that way you're going to eat a little bit more calories. That's going to help you build muscle mass. We just do not want to diet for long periods of time. I would say 4 months tops is really going to be the best. I would say anywhere from 2 to 4 months, but we need to have seasons. So that's what I was talking about today to my email list. I sent out an email today talking about my own struggles. You guys see Maggie in the back. She's just, I gave her CBD too. Like I thought she would chill out, but she's just walking around. You poor girl. We're almost done here, babe. But I sent out an email today talking about, and this was really back in this was back when I was a group fitness instructor. I worked at Burn Boot Camp. I was really lean when I worked there because I was very active. I was teaching 20 plus classes a week. I was also working out on my own. I was doing a lot of cardio. And I know when I worked at Burn, I was walking 20K steps a day. So I was lower body fat back then. But the problem was, I did not like how I looked because I had no butt and I really had low muscle tones. I did look lean, but the problem is I just did not have any shape to me. I did not look good. And here was the problem. There's so much misinformation out there that I literally believed all of these influencers that talk about this idea that you can lose fat and build muscle at the same time. I was trying to do that. I was eating right below maintenance back then. I was working out like 6 days a week. I was doing a lot of cardio. I was eating clean. Do you guys see why I'm talking about this stuff? So I had this like weird skinny fat look. Like I didn't look toned. I just kind of looked like a skinny model. But honestly, like I just don't like that look. I just don't like it. It just doesn't look good. So I kept doing this and I kept wondering like, why can I just not build a butt? Like, and for years I told myself it's my genetics, it's my age. But you know what it was? The reason why I wasn't getting that toned look that I want was because I was constantly in a deficit. I was doing a shit ton of cardio. I was mixing it up all the time. So if you guys heard my last episode, do you guys see what I'm saying here? So the main problem I was having was I did not look toned. I had no butt because I was not eating properly. I was restricting my calories way too much. I was doing too much cardio. So I was constantly in a calorie deficit. And what that caused me was muscle loss. So that being said, I remember the day that it hit me like a ton of bricks. I remembered in college, it's like, I went to college, I went through an SCA personal trainer exam, like I went through all of this stuff, but yet I chose to listen to magazines, listen to influencers, listen to different coaches and trainers. And some people, they can lose fat and build muscle at the same time, but it's a very small percentage of people. And we're going to talk about that. So I remember it hit me like a ton of bricks one time. I remembered learning about something called training adaptation. So basically, what this means is that over time, your body will adapt to training. So you guys have probably experienced this if you lift weights. You notice like in the beginning, maybe you're like super sore, from your first couple workouts. Maybe you felt kind of weak. You might have been kind of embarrassed, like, oh my gosh, I'm only like lifting 5-pound dumbbells. But quickly, if you were consistent, probably within a couple months, you probably made major gains with your strength. You might have noticed that your strength went up really rapidly. You might even notice like some muscle tone in your arms, your legs. And in addition, if you were doing maybe some, some changes to your nutrition, or maybe you took up walking, whatever the case may be, you might even lost some weight. So in the beginning, this is what we call newbie gains. You have this beautiful time of being able to put on some muscle mass, increase your strength, and also lose fat at the same time. And generally, this person might have a little bit of weight to lose. So I know that was the case for me. I remember back in my 20s, this was exactly the case. I was a little bit overweight, and that was really just from fast food. I was eating a lot of processed foods that were really highly palatable. I was having some binge eating episodes. I was drinking alcohol, and I was not working out. In fact, I was in terrible shape. And I remember when I first started working out, like my body responded like crazy. And at the time, I thought it was just my age because I was in my early 20s. Yeah, I had age on my side, but I was also a newbie. So, meaning I quickly built some muscle. I was starting to look more toned. And it was really fast. It was like within like 3 to 6 months, I started seeing major changes in my body. And at the same time, as I was toning up, I was building muscle mass. I was losing fat as well. But then it doesn't take long. I would say for most people, it's around like a year, year and a half of consistent training. And if you are getting leaner, so this combination of getting leaner, okay, and also getting adapted to training, you literally lose the ability to lose fat and build muscle at the same time. Now, this is really more for people that are consistent with their training, that have been weight training for a long time, and also are pretty close to their weight loss goal. They're either at their goal or they are maybe like 10, 15, 20 pounds above it. Generally, you will get to this point where it gets hard to lose fat and build muscle. So when you see all of these people, okay, talk about this, it's not that it's impossible, but it's only possible for a small percentage of people. So who can lose fat and build muscle at the same time? This is going to be someone, maybe they've weight trained before, but it's been a long time. So maybe you've gained a little bit of weight throughout the last couple of years and you kind of fell off from training. Then yes, more than likely when you get back into it. So say you have like 40 pounds to lose. Pounds is your goal. You haven't trained in about 3 years. You would be able more than likely to lose fat and build muscle at the same time, at least for a while. Other people that are completely new to weight training, people that are also overweight, they have some weight to lose. Those people are going to be able to do both. But someone like me, so someone who is already somewhat lean, is going to have a hard time, especially if they've been training for a long time as well. So I remember the day that it hit me like a ton of bricks and I got out my NSCA exam book and I literally read through, it was talking about training adaptation. So I put 2 to 2 together and I was like, oh my gosh, this is why bodybuilders do stages. So here's the fix. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're struggling with this, if you've been trying to lose fat and build muscle at the same time, how is that working for you? Is that really working for you? Let's be honest with ourselves here. Because if you've been trying to lose the last 5-10 pounds while toning up at the same time for the last 5 years, but your weight isn't budging and you don't look any more toned, it's time to make a decision. You need to either lose fat or build muscle. And this is a big question I get a lot. Like, well, Courtney, I'm not sure which one I need to do. Let me tell you this. What you need to do is sign up for my free training, A Leaner Fitter You. You can join me live and you can ask me that question, or you can shoot me an email. Sign up, shoot me an email, and I'd be happy to help you out. Okay. I love talking about this stuff, but the solution really is to just pick one or the other. You either need to prioritize muscle building, aka building great thighs and glutes, nice juicy biceps, or you need to focus on fat loss. Doing both, you're going to spin your wheels. Unless you are a unicorn, unless you're new to training, you have weight to lose, or it's been a while. So that's what I want to say about that. I'm telling you guys, like, this is why bodybuilders do stages. This is why they do times at maintenance. So maintenance is really just maintaining your current body composition, your current weight. You're going to be eating at maintenance, which is basically eating roughly what your body burns. So for a lot of people, like for me, this is actually a decent amount of food. Like, I feel great in maintenance. My hormones are good. They're at a good level. I don't really have a lot of cravings. I feel full and satisfied. I hardly ever feel hungry. But not only that, like a lot of people kind of balk at maintenance because they're like, well, I want to lose weight. But it's like, if you continue to diet, it's not going to be great for your metabolism and you're not going to see results anyway. So you might as well not skip the step that is actually very necessary to help you restore your hormones, help you restore your metabolism. Because here's the thing that I mentioned probably almost on every episode. You diet, your metabolic rate is going to decline a little bit because you're not taking in a lot of food. So your body's going to have to adapt to that. Our bodies are very adaptable, not only to training, but also to our food intake. So if you're not eating a lot of food, your body's going to have to learn how to live off that low amount of energy. The other problem here, you're taking in low energy, your energy levels are going to tank. You're more than likely going to move less, and this is unconscious. You're probably not even going to be aware that this is happening, but a low caloric intake, whenever you're eating a low calorie diet, you're going to be moving less, and you're probably not even going to realize it. So not only that, you're also going to burn less calories. So this is with activities of daily living, so walking, cooking a meal, and also your workouts. So this is what I call the shitstorm. You eat a low calorie diet, your metabolic rate tanks, you burn less calories, you're moving less. So this is how you get in the space of I'm eating low calorie, but I'm not losing weight, is because yeah, you're eating low calorie, but you're still not in a deficit. So it's very needed to eat at maintenance to be able to bring your calories up, to get that movement up. And not only that, I want to argue this is that people just hop into a fat loss phase. And I don't let everyone just hop into a fat loss phase. You know why? Because I think it's completely irresponsible. You're not always going to be ready for it. Because if you start a fat loss phase and you don't know how to deal with cravings, you don't know anything about portion control or macro counting, or you're still making a lot of mistakes with your training and nutrition, like that is not the time to do fat loss. Eating at maintenance, you're going to be able to have more brain space and more energy just in general to learn the skills, okay, that it takes to be able to be consistent with eating in a calorie deficit. So having a healthy metabolism, because if you're trying to cut from 1,200 calories because you're not seeing fat loss, so your solution is to eat 1,000 calories, like that's not going to be sustainable. If you don't know anything about what is coming in and you decide to do a fat loss phase, like it's so much better to practice these skills when you're not trying to lose fat. So that way you have the skills, so that way it goes smooth when you do go into a fat loss phase. So many reasons why it's a necessary stage, even though nobody wants to do it. But I'm telling you, maintenance is where the magic is. You can be here for long periods of time. It's not stressful on your body. You're going to see more glute gains. You're going to see more muscle tone. It's just going to be so much better. And then when you do go back into fat loss, you're going to be in a much better spot. You're going to be able to keep your calories higher. You're not going to have to cut your calories so low. You're also going to be moving more. You're going to be able to dial in those little habits that are so important to have in place so you can be successful with your fat loss. So I know it's not an easy solution. You have to really pick. And I know, like, hey, trust me, I'm like that all the time. Like just a couple months ago, I was planning on doing a mini cut. And the reason why I didn't do it is because my dad got sick. I had a launch that I was doing with a new product. Like there's just a lot of stressors. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just not willing to do the work right now. Like I was literally just honest with myself. I'm like, you know, it's just going to cause me more stress. It's going to be more brain space. And right now I need my energy. So here's the thing, guys, like that's totally okay. So you know what? I made the decision. I'm just going to stay where I'm at. I'm going to do this a little bit longer. It's just easier for me. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with building more muscle. It's actually just going to probably make my cut when I do one even better. So it's not always the best time, and that is okay. But you really need to make a decision, because if you've been training for a long time and maybe you're not quite to your goal, but you're like 10, 15 pounds away, it might be worth like okay, I need to make a decision. I either need to focus on fat loss and do a calorie deficit, or I need to focus on eating the right amount of food to build my glutes, to have more muscle tone. You really need to make a decision. And I do think that it's great to do both. So do some maintenance for several months, and then you can go back into a cut. You're going to, even though, yeah, it's going to be more long term, I think you're going to be way more happy with the results. And again, like, you can make a decision here. You can continue to do the same thing. You can continue to listen to these freaking people that are telling you, yes, you can lose fat and build muscle at the same time. And to an extent, sure, some people can still kind of do that. I was eating at maintenance for months and months. And I saw like a slight drop in my fat percentage, even though my weight was staying roughly around the same. So that can happen. But what I'm saying here is going to be very slow, and it's going to be slight. So I'm not saying that it can't happen, but it can happen at like this maintenance level. So you'll probably see a little recomp. But if you're like me and you're just like 10, 15 pounds away from your goal, maybe you've been training for a long time, I really do think that it is worth trying seasons. Look at bodybuilders, right? This is exactly what they do. They don't diet all year round because they know it's not sustainable. So a lot of times they're 15, 20, 25, 30 pounds heavier in their off season. And that is because they know they need to restore their hormones. They need to get their metabolic rate back up. They want to have their energy back so they can really kill it in the gym. And muscle growth does take food. And it's also going to take a little bit of slight weight gain. For most people, they're not going to gain that much after a diet if they do things right. And I think this is really important to do. A lot of people talk about dieting, but they don't talk about what to do after the diet. So I always recommend my clients to have an end date with a diet, and then also have like a reverse out back into a maintenance level. So that way you can focus more on muscle building, restore your hormones, and get your metabolism back. But this is really, really important, because if you don't have an exit strategy, then a lot of times this is why we see weight regain. Like, we either like keep dieting and then we keep going down that road. And really that's just going to end up being like maybe some binge eating behavior if we end up dieting for too long and restricting too long. So we definitely don't want to do that. But we also don't want to lose muscle mass. So it really is a good idea to have seasons with your nutrition. That's exactly how bodybuilders do it too. But going back to maintenance, like the average person, you might gain maybe 5 pounds. So say you lost like 25 pounds during your cut. Then more than likely, like once you go to maintenance, you might see an increase of about 5 pounds total. Totally normal, because most people are not going to be able to maintain their lowest weight. For most people, that's just going to be too hard to maintain. So for a lot of people, they might see an increase of like 5 pounds, but that's really, really slight. And honestly, I think the trade-off is totally fair, because think about it, like 5 pounds, you're still going to look good. But you're also going to have all the other benefits of building more muscle, having a more toned look, having more muscle tone. You're also going to have better hormone health. You're going to have more energy. So I think that is a totally fair trade-off. I just wanted to say that because I've had a question of that recently, and I wanted to let you all know that, yeah, it's totally normal to gain like 5 pounds whenever you go from like a fat loss phase into a maintenance phase. Totally normal, but it's not like you can't do another fat loss phase later. So that's what I want to say about that. So just to recap, so today we talked about the 2 common mistakes that women make when it comes to nutrition. We talked about eating clean. Not necessarily a problem. It can be a problem if you're being too restrictive. I talk a lot about that on the podcast, how restriction will lead to overindulgence later. So I'm a huge fan of flexible dieting, being able to have that skill of eating in moderation and including those favorite foods so you don't feel deprived. But we also talked about why you might be eating clean, but you're not seeing the fat loss results, and it's because you're not in a calorie deficit. So portion control and calorie control really is key, becoming aware of what you're actually consuming. And then we also talked about low calorie diets, how they have a time and a place. They should not be used year round. Even if you do have a big fat loss goal, we want to keep that to 2 to 4 months tops. We also need to have an end date and a plan to get out of that deficit and go back to a maintenance level. This is how you do fat loss. This is how you're going to continue to improve your body composition. Because I hear all the time from women, I get messages all the time about how, I'm 50 and I'm menopausal and I've tried everything. I'm doing all the things and nothing ever seems to work for me. What am I doing wrong? And that's the thing. That's why I'm doing this upcoming training, A Leaner, Fitter You. So I would love for you all to be there and join. This podcast is going to come out Friday the 12th. We are having that training on Tuesday, April 15th at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you sign up, no worries. If you can't make it live, I will send you the replay. So that's why you want to sign up. And then the second training is going to be on April 17th, which is next Thursday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. So the first training is going to be about training in your 40s and 50s for great glutes and a tiny waist. And then on Thursday, we are going to be talking about simple nutrition strategies to help you lose fat and build muscle. It doesn't matter if you're in menopause. It does not matter how old you are. You can lose fat and build muscle at any age. All right. Thank you so much for being here. I will include my email address in case you want to reach out. And also, I do ask a quick favor from you. If you're enjoying this podcast, make sure that you, first of all, subscribe so you always hear my newest episodes. But please, if this is helping you in any way, would you please write me a 5-star review? It really does mean a lot to me. And whenever you do that, it helps push my podcast out to more women that need to hear this message. All right. Thanks so much for being here. And I hope to see you inside a leaner, fitter you. All right. That's it for today. Bye for now.